Stars above, stories that vary. Heroes rise where the wild winds stand. Tales of Texas, the heart of this land. Ride with me through the pass so bold. Battles fought and legends told. Texas history where the brave took a stand. It's the tales of this great land.
Howdy, young Texans, and welcome back to Tales of Texas History, the podcast where we travel back in time, explore the wild frontier, and meet the brave men and women who helped shape the Lone Star State. I'm your host, Miss Lavach, your trusty guide through the dust, drama, and daring adventures of Texas past. Today's episode is extra special because we have a guest joining us all the way from 1836. That's right, straight from the walls of the old Spanish mission we call the Alamo. Please welcome an eyewitness to one of the most famous battles in Texas history. A survivor, a messenger, a mother, and a woman whose courage helped carry the story of the Alamo into the future, Miss Suzanna Dickenson. Miss Dickenson lived through the 13-day siege, the final assault, and the horrifying aftermath. And today, she's here to share her story with us, what she saw, what she felt, and what it meant to survive when so many around her did not. So settle in, historians. This is going to be a powerful journey. Are you ready? Let's begin. My name is Suzanna Dickenson, and I survived the Battle of the Alamo. You may know the names of the brave men who died there: Travis, Bowie, Crockett, but I was there too. I lived inside the Alamo with my husband, Almaron, and our little girl, Angelina. And today, I want to tell you what I saw, what I felt, and what happened inside those walls during the 13 days that changed Texas forever. So sit close. This is my story. Before the cannons, before the smoke, the Alamo was simply home. We had a small room near the low barracks. My husband, Almaron Dickenson, was a dedicated defender. Courageous, loyal, determined. Baby Angelina was barely a year old, always clinging to my dress or reaching for her father's beard. There were other families too, wives, children, people seeking safety. Life inside the Alamo was busy, but calm. But the peace didn't last. Word spread fast that General Santa Anna was marching north with a huge army. The fear in people's voices told me everything. The defenders prepared for battle. Almaron cleaned his musket over and over, praying under his breath. And then they came. It was February 23rd. I heard shouting from the courtyard. I grabbed Angelina and rushed outside. Dust clouds rose into the sky. Santa Anna's soldiers were surrounding the Alamo. Cannons fired before I could catch my breath. The walls shook. The air filled with smoke and fear. We women and children were moved into safer rooms, though nowhere felt truly safe. For 13 days, the Mexican army fired on us without rest, day and night. There were moments when the ground trembled so hard I thought the whole fort might collapse. The men fought bravely. William Travis wrote letters begging for reinforcements. James Bowie lay sick, but still tried to give orders. And my husband, he came to check on us every chance he got. "Stay low, Susanna," he told me again and again. "No matter what happens, protect the baby." I tried. I truly tried. On the morning of March 6th, before the sun was up, I woke to the roar of hundreds of voices and the thunder of footsteps. The final assault had began. I grabbed Angelina and crouched in the corner of our room. The gunfire was deafening. Screams echoed through the halls. The walls shook as soldiers climbed over them. I could hear men falling, men fighting, men praying. My husband left the room one last time, musket in hand. He looked back at me just once. I never saw him again. Minutes felt like hours. Then suddenly the door burst open. A Mexican officer stared at me, at a terrified woman holding her baby. For a moment, I feared the worst. But instead, he lowered his sword and said something I'll never forget. "You are not to be harmed." He escorted us out. The battle was over. Every defender was gone. The Alamo had fallen. A day or so later, I was brought before General Santa Anna himself. He was stern, proud, and determined to send a message to the rest of Texas. He told me I would go to General Sam Houston and deliver a warning. His words were sharp. "Tell Houston this is the fate that awaits all who resist the Alamo." He gave me a horse, some food for the journey, and allowed me to take my baby. But the images of what I had seen inside the Alamo followed me like shadows. I rode toward Gonzales, dusty, exhausted, heartbroken, but alive. When I reached Houston's camp, the men gathered round me. They saw the grief in my eyes before I even spoke. I told Houston everything: the siege, the final assault, the courage of the defenders, and the terrible outcome. He listened quietly and then said, "The Alamo has fallen. We must retreat." My message sent the runaway scrape into motion and pushed Texas toward its final victory at San Jacinto. I lived the rest of my life in Texas. I remarried, raised my daughter, and tried to build a quieter life far away from the sounds of cannons. But people never forgot that I had survived the Alamo. They called me the messenger of the Alamo, and I told the story again and again, not because it was easy, but because it mattered. Those men fought for Texas. Their courage inspired a nation, and I, just a woman with a child, carried their story into the future. If you remember anything about my tale, let it be this: you don't have to carry a weapon to be brave. Sometimes survival itself is an act of courage. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember the Alamo and the people like me who lived it.
From the missions to the wide open prairies, the stars above, the stories that vary. Heroes rise where the wild winds stand. Tales of Texas, the heart of this land. Ride with me through the pass so bold, battles fought and legends told. Texas history where the brave took a stand. It's the tales of this great land. The Alamo whispers, the Rio runs deep. Cowboys and cattle, dreams they keep. Frontier fighters and the thunder's drum. Texas pride, where we all come from. Ride with me through the pass so bold, battles fought and legends told. Texas history where the brave took a stand. It's the tales of this great land.